Boston cream.
This video covers a few of my night fishing trips from late June through July around Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Squid, and a few other fish along the way. Hope you enjoy. First stop, Nut Island, Massachusetts. Late June is usually a good time here for squid. But this year I kept hearing that the squid fishing was slow, so I had to see for myself. The tide was around high. I've been liking this Yo-Zuri mini floating jig recently. I'll leave a link in the description. I usually use a light sinker for squid, but with this current I need something a little heavier to reach the bottom. Fish on. This one feels heavy. Oh yeah, that's a really nice Longfin Squid. And a lot of ink. From the survey I posted before this trip, most people were saying Nut Island wasn't producing much squid this year, and they were right. Sort of. The squid were here, but not in big numbers. I've also been experimenting with the action of this rod. When the squid are slow, I twitch the rod from side to side, making the jig move around. Almost like a little bait fish trying to get away. Sometimes that gets a reaction when nothing else does. Another nice long fin, and it looks like the short fin hadn't really made it into this area yet. And more ink. After a little over an hour, 2 squid. Not exactly a hot bite, but the size here is usually pretty good. So I came back the next night. A little earlier this time, and Boston looked pretty good in the evening light. The tide was almost the same as the night before. Before it got dark, I also tried some mackerel chunks for striped bass. Got a few little bites. Maybe a small fish. Another bite. A crab. No striped bass though. Eventually, it got dark. So back to squid. By the way, I also asked which squid you guys thought tasted better this year, longfin or shortfin. Longfin won by a pretty good margin, but there were definitely some shortfin fans too. It was an interesting result. Fish on. Another good one. but once again, just 2 squid. So there were definitely some squid around an island, there just didn't seem to be very many of them. Next, I decided to try Salem. This pier doesn't have any permanent lights, so you'll need to bring your own headlamp or fishing light. The tide was going out. There were already quite a few people at the end of the pier. Once I turned on the light, baitfish started gathering around it. This looked promising. I started with squid. If I didn't get a bite, I'd reel in a few turns and let the jig fall again. Squid tend to react pretty well to the fall. I also tried the twitching action, but no squid. They didn't seem to be here yet. What is that fish? It kept coming in every now and then to feed on the baitfish while I was fishing for squid. So I decided to try a sabiki. Lately, I've been using this size 8 ocean cat sabiki. In Japan, shrimp-style sabikis are pretty common, but here, I've had better luck with this bird feather style. I'm also using an underwater flasher. It flashes underwater and helps the fish find the sabiki in the dark. For night fishing, having some kind of light can make a pretty big difference. I dropped it down to the bottom and started working the sabiki. Got a bite, fish on. Feels pretty light. What is it? Whiting, also known as silver hake. Apparently there were a lot of these around Boston this year. Another fish on. The problem is this is a super soft rod for squid, so when I work the sabiki, it mostly just drags along the bottom. Another whiting. They have pretty soft mouths, so I tried to bring them up slowly. Even then, I lost quite a few. The people around me seem to be catching that other fish too. Could that be a mackerel? So I switched to a longer rod. It was easier to work the sabiki than with the squid rod, but I still couldn't get a really sharp action out of it. And with this many people around, it was pretty tough to use. Another whiting. Let's take a look at the bucket from the guy next to me. A lot of whiting in there. And he's getting some mackerel too. Great. Here's the catch from today. A few whiting. Maybe just the right size for frying. Some original channel t-shirts will be available soon. And now Salem. Day 2. This time I'm going back for the mackerel. The tide was going out again. I switched to a shorter, stiffer rod. Then I started giving the sabiki little twitches. Fish on. That's definitely a mackerel bite. Two on at once. Atlantic mackerel. Let's keep going. They're hitting almost immediately. Fish on again. Yeah, the rod really does make a difference. They're on the smaller side. Another fish on. Mackerel usually travel in schools, so if you reel in slowly, you can sometimes get more fish to follow and bite. A triple hookup. There are a few more following them up. All a bit small. But when I cast a little farther out, I did get a few nicer ones around 13 inches. Here's the catch from today. I hit the limit allowed by the fishing regulations. The squid around Boston and Salem were still pretty slow. I started wondering if they were still biting in Newport, Rhode Island. There were a lot fewer people here than before. I started wondering, maybe the short fin were gone. Maybe the squid bite had slowed down here too. The tide was coming in, and the wind was calm. I also tried the twitching action. Fish on. This looks like a longfin. The squid bite really turned on. I hooked one squid, and while I was bringing it up, it suddenly got heavier. Two squid. Both good-sized longfin. This Daiwa rod is very soft, and it works really well for squid. It's soft enough to feel the squid bite right through the rod tip. and the bites kept coming right after the jig fell. Sometimes the squid would pull the sinker down with them and actually move the rod tip, but I didn't hook up. After a bite, the squid are often still hanging around. If you're new to squid fishing, I also have a video where I share a few squid fishing tips and some thoughts on using fishing lights. Hopefully, you'll find it useful. I could feel another bite through the rod tip. And another bite while I was reeling in. Two squid again. Another good pair. Here's the catch from today. I only had about an hour to fish, but I still caught a good number of squid. The short fins seem to be gone from Newport now, and it's not quite the crazy bite it was before, but the longfin are still here. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me keep making these videos. I'll see you in the next one. Good luck.